Welcome to Paradigm Shift TV 314. This is your brother, Piankhi Tulu Neferamun Ra. And today we got a powerful conversation for you. We're just rocking out with a few brothers. But I'm going to introduce my little brother, NoboDy from Trust and Believe the Gospel. And he's going to tell y'all what we got going on.
All right, y'all, man. Y'all know this is another takeover show, but it's not took over specifically by Christians. We have Christians in the building. We have 5%ers. We have Moors. We have agnostics. We have atheists in the building. You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of y'all out there in the YouTube community, y'all are looking for truth. Y'all looking for information. And we're just going to continue our dialogue. And I'm going to let my brother Marlon start off this dialogue. And I'm going to ask him a certain question so we can get this thing started.
God body.
Let's get it.
Brother Marlon, are you a 5%er?
Yes, sir.
My brother Marlon is a 5%er. My brother Brian is a Christian. My brother Thomas White, he's a Christian. Of course, I'm a Christian. My brother Piankhi Matulu from Ra, you know, the host of Paradigm Shift 314. You know, y'all know he in the middle. He plays devil's advocate and he's always about his thing. So, brother Marlon, I just want to jump this conversation off by asking you, when it comes to the biblical perspective, when it comes to the Bible and what the Bible teaches, how do you tie that in to what you believe as a 5% or more?
Okay. Basically, well, I ain't gonna claim the Morris side, but I am 5%. And the Bible to us is the basic instructions before leaving Earth, and it's also a useful tool. Okay, we don't discredit the Bible. All right, we do discredit some forms of Christianity. Okay, some of the things that they teach about or the way they use the Bible, I'd say some people use it for control. Some people use it, you know, to make money, and they use it for reasons for which it's not made for. But the Bible dates far back enough for me to accept that that's real. You know what I'm saying? Because it had to be translated from the Hebrew text so that it could be read by, you know, people who spoke English and other languages. So I know for sure that the Bible does hold, you know, some merit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to discredit it at all. Like I said, because known to all 5% is the basic instructions before leaving Earth. If you want to start from where I came from, you know what I'm saying, church, you know what I'm saying, I started in church. And I guess I could say the reason that I'm a 5%er now is because I believe in, you know, God giving every man, everything on this planet, I'd say, not just every man, every living thing here, a brain, a control unit, you know what I'm saying? And I believe it's supposed to be used to guide you through life and to guide you back to God, you know, because that's what the Bible was said it was here for, to put you in line with God, to get you back towards Him, to guide you back. So, you know, I get a lot of, you know, well, you believe your religion comes from Europe, you're this, you're that, and y'all don't really know what's real about religion or what's not, and this and that. But my whole thing is my way of life, you know what I'm saying, which is a 5%er. And a lot of people say, well, you came from the Muslim faith. Well, hey, true indeed, you know what I'm saying? I can't say we didn't. But the reason why we did is because we didn't find a lot of truth in the Muslim faith here in America. I'm not saying the Middle Eastern Europe or the African, the Middle Eastern Islams or Arabs were practicing something that was false or whatever, because to me, they really into that religion more than anybody, because they pray 6 times a day. They wash their hands and feet before they touch food. And those are, you know, guidelines that, you know what I'm saying, God gave to man. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to be clean and everything. You know what I'm saying? Our thoughts, our movements is supposed to be clean. So 5%ers really started over here in America because Brother Clarence X13 didn't agree with the way that the Muslim movement was going here in America. And he, like Malcolm X, after traveling to Mecca, saw a difference in the Muslim over there and the Muslims over here. So he decided to start the nation of gods and earths to try to bring them back to the Muslim culture that he visited and saw when he went to Mecca. And that's the same reason Malcolm X was killed, because he was going to bring the true Muslim or the true ways of a Muslim here to America, which would have thrown the ways that we doing it here in America off. So they had to get him out the way.
Right. If I could cut you off for a second,
Yeah, go ahead.
if you don't mind. Based off of everything that you just said, Brother Brian Washington, I know that you were in opposition to what he said. So since you are opposed to some of the things that he said, I want to give you the opportunity to give your spiel as into why you are in opposition to what he just said.
Yeah, give me a second. Hold on. Well, let me. Oh, good late evening, brothers. Actually, not in too much opposition to what he said, to be honest with you. On principle, I do. There's some things that I actually do really agree with him on. I do think that the American, particularly the American brand of Christianity, has of all the faiths, not just Christianity, American brand of Judaism, American brand of Islam, American brand of Christianity, is not contingent or true, or not presented in the truest form the way it should be. But for me, I'm a Christian. I'm unapologetic about being Christian. It took me time to study all of Western Christianity, not just Eurocentric, but realizing that a lot of Western Christianity actually comes from African, North and West African theological frameworks, but also studying Eastern Christianity. Like the brother mentioned something about the Islam in its pure form in the East, praying as many times a day, but a lot of people who don't know they actually get it from Eastern Christians. Eastern Christians pray between 3 to 6 times a day. They wash a lot. They have a lot of cleanliness rituals. They actually are the ones that began the praying to the East, which if you study a lot about Islam, it actually got a majority of a lot of things they did from the Eastern Christians. And so I don't really see I didn't disagree with the brother too much. Maybe we may disagree on how does one come about fulfilling that getting back to God, but we do see that we both have there is a inherent need and attraction of man and all of creation getting back into line with its creator, in whatever way, form, or fashion. Christianity's claim is that's going to be through Christ Jesus. I mean, unapologetic about that. But I think there's some frameworks that foundationally we agree on that there is something inherent in mankind that makes him want to go back to Creator, and like he said, free will, consciousness, the mind, the ability to think. Even science shows that human beings, or Homo sapiens sapiens, is a unique, different species than every other species in the world, because of our mind. So I mean, there's something there.
Right. Okay. If I could steer the conversation, we got Brother Brian Spiel. Brother Marlon gave his perspective on his worldview about life. Brother Thompson White, go off mute, and I want you to give your spiel as into why you are in opposition to what he said.
Yeah. So again, I would say that in what he said particularly, I would be in agreement with most of it. Now, I would say that I think we may disagree as far as believing whether or not the origins of the 5% Nation and any other movement that would be based off of the teachings of Fard Muhammad, and anyone who was influenced by him would be teachings that would be, how should I say, would be not necessarily beneficial, but whether or not they would be right and exact, and also whether or not they would be legitimate teachings had they had circumstances here in America been different, right? So I think that one of my biggest issues or questions when it comes to um, the nation, NGE, Nation of Islam, is if the transatlantic slave ship didn't land black people here in America, uh, or if racism wasn't an issue at all, would this movement actually exist? As Jerome the Conscious Christian Green, he pointed out in our recent discussion that um, that definitely like these groups have uh, their basis in white identity. You know what I'm saying? Based off of um, based off of a um, based off of a basically a I want to make sure that I use the right words, and so that's why I'm stumbling a little bit. But
Right.
Basically, we would we find these things to be true if white people hadn't done what they did?
Let me answer that if I can.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, 5% Nation probably wouldn't have been around, if it weren't for the Muslims over here in America. And the reason why it's not too conducive to the Muslim faith is because the father, Clarence X13, left the Nation of Islam because he discovered that things weren't being done by the rules, you would say. So he started the Nation of Gods and Earths pretty much in order to give everybody who wanted to be a Muslim a fair chance or a fair shake to see that knowledge itself is the key. It's not what they were actually being taught as Muslims here in America. And he always said, or he always made the notion that every 5%er, every woman and man that's a 5%er, if you really want to know a real Muslim or you really want to know what it is, go to Mecca. And Malcolm X took a trip to Mecca also, and when he came back, you saw what happened to him, because he found the truth. And like I said, the faith over here in America, the brother Byron said, I mean, we have freedom over here. We can do what we want. So that's why when it came here, it changed up, and that's the reason why the father left and started the 5% Nation.
Good stuff.
Okay. I feel what you said, brother. I feel what you said, brother Thomas. Okay, brother Marlon. Piankhi, do you want to give any insight to anything anybody has said, or should I let brother Marlon go and give his spiel?
Well, for me, I think that I always find it puzzling that we, black people in America, I agree with Jerome to a degree when he say that these groups were a reaction to white supremacy. And the reason I agree with it is because I think that coming out of the 19th century, coming out of the legacy of slavery, being in the middle of and ensconced in the Jim Crow South, still dealing with the heavy burden of slavery in this country, racism in this country. We seeing black men and women being lynched, being burned, etc. There was a need and a desire to figure out, one, who we were from an identity standpoint, and two, where did we fit in this new this sort of new paradigm And because this is what I believe, because I know some of us, we love to say that Christianity was a white man's religion, but I think because the European misused, they co-opted Christianity and then misused it against our ancestors with instruments like the slave Bible, papal bulls allowing and decreeing that non-Europeans should be enslaved and non-Christians should be enslaved, etc. Being armed with that knowledge, it was an automatic rejection of Christianity. And so where do you look? You look to you still have this biblical sort of foundation, right? And so you look to the next best thing, the Quran. And you had people like NoboDy who had established the Moorish Science Temple, who had kind of set a template. And then so for somebody like Ford Muhammad and Elijah Muhammad to take that sort of to the next level and form the Nation of Islam it makes sense, because you still have an Abrahamic faith where you have Jesus in that book, you have the stories, the prophets, but it's a slight difference, and then you spin it in a way that makes it fit a black identity, right? And so, and now you sort of move forward in that, because now you've distinguished yourself from Christianity, you've distinguished yourself from Orthodox Islam, and so you kind of carving your own path. And so I see the appeal of it. I see how it kind of came together. But the thing that always got me about it was, we know what Arab Muslims did to our ancestors in the sub-Saharan slave trade under the auspices of Islam. See, we talk about what the European did under the auspices of Christianity, and we know that the European co-opted Christianity. We know that.
Right.
Christianity didn't start in Europe. They co-opted it, misused it.
To fit their narrative, right.
And to fit their narrative, and they used it against our ancestors. But the Arab, that was their religion. Nobody didn't know Arab co-opt Islam. That was their religion.
Okay, Piankhi, so, if I cut you off for a second, before I pass it to Brother Brian and Brother Thomas after him, I'm going to pass it to Brother Marlon. But if I cut you off for a second, and what you said about Islam, do you feel like Islam, being a mixed multitude of people as pertaining to skin color, that the Arabic nation, not specifically under Islam, but under just Arabic, do you believe that those type of people would have the truth beyond any other type of people, seeing that they're operating based off of truth and not off of skin color?
Well, for me, I think that the truth is relative to the people who read the narrative, or who believing in whatever belief it is that they adopted. And so for the Arab, who the Islamic Muslim Arab, Islam is the truth. For the Arab or the Palestinian who believes in Judaism, that's the truth. The one who's a Christian, that's the truth. So to me, it's all about what the person's perspective is and belief is. And so to them, sure. I have a brother, I think I told you about him. He owns a beauty supply out in St. Louis County. When I lived out there, he and I would chop it up when I was going there. He would take exceptions to some things I said about Islam and weird rap. And turned out he had some issues in the community. Point blank, he called a sister the N-word. And a lot of people were talking about boycotting his business because he and I had a rapport. He called me for assistance because that's how much of a rapport we had. Our birthdays on the same day. You know, we found out a lot about each other. Now he's an Arab Muslim. By all intents and purposes, by all accounts, you know, he seemed to be a good guy. He made a terrible mistake with what he called a sister, but I tell people that the sister and the brothers who engaged with him made the mistake of using that word in front of him freely and allowing him to say those type of things, you know, to them in recreational ways. So when it became a negative situation, I don't know why they thought that he would talk differently. But point being, he and I have talked about Islam, and he says, despite the fact that Islam came much later, he says everybody in the Bible, starting with Adam, was a Muslim. So he has a perspective of Islam that is that contrasts everything y'all believe, everything a Jewish person would believe. And so when we talk about truth, it's according to the person's perspective, if that makes sense.
Well, did you know what he meant when he said Adam? You know what he means by Adam?
Well, when he said it, he was talking about Adam as in Adam and Eve, the first man and the first woman.
No, he's really talking about a molecule, Adam, which is the
No,
body.
Bro, I'm telling you.
He really did?
This brother was talking about Adam as in the first man fashioned by God. Yeah. Moses, Adam, Abraham, in his perspective, they were all Muslims.
Okay. Okay, I see where you're going. I see, yeah, I see that. Okay. Because I thought you were speaking on the molecule, the molecular, you know what I'm saying, atom, because, you know, in 5% Nation, that's what we always refer to.
Yeah, now remember, this is an Arab gem.
Right.
So yeah, this is, you know, that's what he says they believe. Now I have a friend at my job. He's a Jewish brother. Everything in the Torah and the Tanakh, that's what he believes. He says that Jesus was one of many false messiahs. He was just the most influential. These are his words. His father is a rabbi. And so now this brother is ensconced in hip hop culture. This brother listens to more rap music than I do. And so, but he's very knowledgeable about the spiritual side because his father is a rabbi. And of course, he wanted him to follow in his footsteps. He just kind of, you know, veered away from it. But he says that they acknowledge that Jesus was a false prophet in their estimation, but he's just the most influential. But he says that there were many false prophets. But again, these two contrasts show that this is the truth to each of these individuals, but that wouldn't be the truth to the Christian brothers we have on this panel. They would come with a completely different perspective. So when we're dealing with truth, it's you know what I mean?
Right. Got it.
Okay, Piankhi, I got you. Okay, so that's cool. Okay, so Brother Marlon, based off of what Piankhi said, right before Brother Brian go, I want you to elaborate on what Brother Piankhi said.
All right, well, be honest with you, to me, where he was coming from is like a Jewish perspective, you know. The 5%, you got to understand, the 5% Nation is a totally different type of movement, you know what I'm saying? And I agree with you with what you said, because if it wasn't for the fact that we were under stipulation, it probably would have never came about, because like I said, it came about because of the way that the NOI was over here in America, and Clarence X didn't agree with it. and established a different type of a way that, you know what I'm saying, we can worship the religion without actually having to join the NOI here in America. And like I said, when he went to the Middle East, Africa, and actually, you know, prayed with Muslims and did the shit, I can't think of the name of it right now, but did, you know, whatever they did over there, he came back over here with a
Hajj.
perspective. Huh?
Talking about the Hajj. I think this was called.
Right. Where they pray for days and they wear all white. You know, they wash their hands and feet every, you know, before they pray and all that type of stuff. And when he came back, he started the nation of gods and earths. To me, like I said, I'm a free thinker. You know what I'm saying? I love using my brain to think because God gave it to me. And I always deal with the fact that if God gave us a brain, or if he gave us everything he gave us, why should we take him off of his pedestal of being such a great God and bring him down here with us and say that, well, he wrote a book and gave us instructions. Well, as a 5%er, we look at that book as the basic instructions. You see what I'm saying? Man, you know what I'm saying, was inspired to give you those instructions. Like Christians say, God came to certain people and gave them, you know, the inspiration to write these books because it was like it was a message to us through these people. Well, I say God speaks to everybody indirectly. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to get one man to lead you. You can lead yourself. And that's what the knowledge of self teaches. You know, you can lead yourself to God. You can be in the realms of God all day if you want to. You know what I'm saying? That's on you. And basically, the Bible says the same thing. It's on you. I'm going to give you the instructions, but it's on you to pick up on them and try to seek the knowledge and find out, you know, what you're here for. What's your destiny? How are you going to make your time here on earth? Or what are you going to do for your responsibilities? How are you going to take care of your children? How are you going to take care of your family? All that's on you. You know what I'm saying? And as a member of the nation of gods and earths, I see it. I've studied it in the 120 lessons, mind, body, and spirit. And I can't say that I don't agree with it. You know what I'm saying? Even Christianity, we, like I said, we carry the Bible. We in the Bible. You know, I don't read it as much as I'm supposed to. I haven't actually. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't touched the Bible. Actually, sat down and studied the Bible in probably almost 15 years. Everything I know right now is coming off of knowledge that I had from when I was in church, and that's a while ago. And you know, that's why I mean, when I say things, they'd be like misquoted. They'd be close to what it is. Just like earlier tonight when we got on, and I said what I said, and the brother corrected me and everything. And you know, one part of being a 5% is understanding. You have to understand that you're not going to be correct on everything. And if you really want to know, and somebody has the actual facts to give you, sit down and pay attention. Take it in. You know what I'm saying? Add it to your collection. Like we said earlier, put another brick on your building. You know, build on that. Everything can be built on, whether it's true, false, whatever. You build on it. You make a conscious decision, or you come to the understanding. Okay, well that ain't right, or you come to the understanding that you know what, that's true. And
let me ask you a question, Marlon. So, as a 5%er, y'all come out of the Bible and the Quran?
Like I said, we use all sources of knowledge because there is no knowledge that isn't useful, good or bad. You know what I'm saying? If bad, you know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Just leave that alone. And if
so
it's
you don't
good,
feel these two texts contradict each other? Because in one text, Jesus is merely a prophet,
right?
I mean, and when I say merely, I mean I know he plays a very pivotal role in Islam.
Right.
I'm not trying to take away from that, but he is just a prophet. Whereas in the other text, he is depending on what Christian belief you come from. He is either God or either way it go, he God. But I mean, he the son of God, or he Okay, bro. Or he the God or he the son of God. So what? You know what I mean? So if
No,
if these two narratives contradict each other, how do you use both of them?
well, obviously the way I look at it is the way it's said. You know what I'm saying? He's the Son of God. And I wouldn't doubt that he doesn't have what God has as far as the power to heal sick people or resurrect himself from the death and all that. And what I would say is, in my belief and what they teach us is, he was a prophet. You know what I'm saying? Didn't say that he didn't have the power that God had to do whatever he had to do, but he's merely a prophet. So he doesn't get as much respect as God himself gets in my religion. You know, we respect God fully, we love God fully, and we feel like as long as we're in the deen and we stay on our deen and we do what we're supposed to do here on earth, you know, not violate anybody, don't break any of the 10 commandments, you know what I'm saying? Then, hey, we doing the right thing.
So
that's
then
how
why
we
come
feel.
out of the Bible that says he God if you don't feel he God? You see what I'm saying?
Right. I never said he was. I wouldn't say he is. I would only say God is God. That's the only thing I can give respects to. I mean, he's the only entity I could give those respects to. I mean,
right. I got you.
Let
me get Thomas in here real quick.
Right. Yeah.
What's going on? You got a question for you? You just want me to go at it?
I think he wants you to expound on what I just said.
Oh yeah. So, so I'm gonna have questions, of course. But I think that we definitely have to deal with the fact that, as Brother Piankhi said, you know, a lot of these groups would basically come from biblically based positions, right? And one thing that I often ask is um, is a really particular question. Is that if they're biblically based, right? Now I know that you're of the position that there have been some changes in the Bible, and I know that, and that's something that I'm always curious about, especially with a lot of the textual criticism that's been done with the text, just to basically make sure that we have the most accurate biblical text that we have today. But if the text has been changed, at what point was it changed? And if it has been changed, how can we then rely on anything that comes after that, if the biblical text has been changed or altered in some way, shape, or form? Especially with Islam coming about 600 years, after Jesus, and then I'm saying you got then you've got the nation coming to almost 2,000 years afterwards. How can we rely on anything that comes after a text that has been altered by people? How can we then rely on any view that comes out of those out of the book?
Okay, I want to give Brother Brian a chance to reply to what you said, brother. I know we're talking to you, Brother Marlon. I just want to give everybody a fair chance to go.
No, I understand. I was just that was a real good question right there. Now, I would love to answer that. Go ahead.
If I could sum up what my brother Thomas was saying, if we're gonna lean towards accuracy, towards anything that's in antiquity, then how can we take the method that scholars use, not only towards the Bible, but towards everything, and say that the Bible is wrong, while not addressing that you could possibly be wrong about the things that you believe about so-called being pro-Black when it comes to being in antiquity? Because when it comes to the Bible, we know who Jesus was. We know the time period he lived. We know the church fathers, the time period they lived, and we can trace that back all the way to the time that we are at now. So for anybody who is in question as to why, we know what the orthodox, the accuracy, the correct doctrine of the Bible is from then to now, to me, is asinine. But before I go on my rant, Brother Thomas, I just want to know if I represented you correctly. Yes or no?
That was pretty close. That was pretty close.
Okay, forgive me. Brother Brian, I want you to add on to what Brother Thomas was saying, and then Brother Piankhi and then Brother Marlon, y'all can go after that.
Right. Let me just add in because next I'm trying to get these kids to finally sleep. It's been a long day for Christmas, man, with these kids, and they still wound up. But I was gonna say, and I put this in the chat. I think someone said earlier a response to American racism is how we got some of these sects. But I want to add on, it's like the black church itself is a response to American racism. Like the black church and either the former denominations or just black Christians separated from most of the white churches is because of American racism and understanding that American white American Christians, most, not all, because definitely not some, not everybody's not all, it's not all or nothing, but a lot of them did not practice enough to form Christianity, and you see that throughout the slave narratives and post-slave narratives. Them telling us, one of the most famous being Frederick Douglass, telling us that basically it's two different Christianities. But I also want to say is that it seems as though leaders like Malcolm X, Fard Muhammad, NoboDy Ali, Clarence Hicks, Clarence 13 Hicks, let me make sure I say his name right, were unaware of the Oriental Orthodox traditions within Christianity and the African history behind Western Christianity. And I say those things because it seems as though historically they were all reactions to, they want to believe the same type of faith, this Abrahamic faith, but they don't want to subscribe to Christianity proper as it's presented in the West. So you get, honestly, that's where you get a response now with black Hebrew Israelites, because it's basically like I can take the Bible and this doctrine, but I don't have to call myself Christian, and I can do some things different. But I would have had, I wish they would have, and I would implore anybody to really study the Coptic Orthodox Church, which is the Egyptian church. Study the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and its history that date back longer than Roman Catholicism. Study the Armenian Christians. Study the Iraq, I think it's called the it's like I just call them the Iraq Christians, and the Indian Christians, the native of India, the subcontinent. Those Christians, they call them St. Thomas Christians as well, who date back over 15, 16, 1700 years. Because those expressions of Christianity and the way they go about it is totally different than what you see in Western Europe, and particularly Western Anglo-Europe, and that finds its way into American Christianity. Because what you would see is everything that those brothers wanted to attain existed. They don't have a concept of white Jesus. They don't have a concept of of using the Bible and Christianity as a tool for enslavement of one people and the slaughter of another people. Their expressions are native, and I commented this before. If you look at their expressions, they almost look no different than what the other native spiritual traditions are in their country. They just come from a Christian perspective. So I say that because, and this is Rob from. I'm talking to people, I'm talking to brothers on here, but we all coming from understanding things. We were robbed. Like, we was robbed. No, like we were robbed of our history and culture, and not just within the Christian tradition, but all of it. But particularly in Christian tradition, because we weren't necessarily brought up and told about the color of Saint Augustine, of Cyprian, of Origen, of Tertullian. We weren't told about the North African Christians. We weren't told about the Egyptian Christians and the so we wasn't brought up there. The only thing we know that was ancient was Roman Catholicism. If you're a little bit better, you might know a little bit about Eastern Northern Africa, but you didn't
Right.
know about those other places.
No,
So
and that's
to
what,
me,
no,
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 I'm
no,
saying to me, that's how we, you know, that's how I come through with my Christianity, and that's how I think I would have, if I could time travel back, I would have implored those brothers because I knew what they were doing. Instead of necessarily having to go to Islam, to really look at the whole Christianity tradition as a whole. But I know, our resources were limited at the time, so we didn't have a lot of access to learn about these things. But we do now, and you've seen anybody involved in urban apologetics, either formally or informally, have seen the resurgence of understanding these ancient forms, re-Africanizing the African church fathers, and then understanding when you talk about Western philosophy, Western theology. I mean, you go in the classes, you start looking up people like Origen, Tertullian, Cyprian, Chanute, Tychonius, all these brothers was African, and not like just African, like Charlize Theron, South African. No, like they were like African, like Berber Christians.
right,
You want to
right.
look up what a real Berber Christian is? They dark. They look like the brothers on here. So,
Brother Brian.
that's my perspective. Yeah, go ahead. My bad.
Oh no, you good, you good. I just know, since my brother Piankhi gonna go next and Marlon right after him, some of the stuff that you touched on, my brother Piankhi feel real strong about, especially when you was talking about the Africans and the church fathers and stuff like that. So, brother Piankhi, can you address some of the stuff that he said, bro? Go ahead.
Well, so two things for me. For a long time, I would question the legitimacy of the claims that some of these church fathers were actually African, indigenously, as opposed to, like he mentioned, Charlize Theron. But then personally, NoboDy, that I've been doing my own studying on that, and so I put together a PowerPoint just showing these individuals and their different origins and contributions to the Black church. Because what's important for me, and again, I want everybody to be clear, I'm not a Christian anymore, but my thing is true. And so I don't want Black people to feel like they got to run away from being a Christian because Christianity enslaved us. I want them to know that you had a certain section of people who co-opted a belief and misused that belief to enslave our people. And that this is a belief that our people in some numbers chose willingly, because we also have this narrative that it was forced on us. And in some instances it was, but then in some instances our people willingly chose it. This brother just brought up the Coptic Christians in Kemet. And it wasn't forced on them. They stopped following their indigenous African spiritual traditions and chose to follow Christianity. And again, I'm saying that as a non-Christian. So my point is, we have to start pushing the truth, because I can't say I don't want to unite with Thomas or Byron because they're Christian, and Christians forced this religion on us. So they following the white man religion and I'm pro-Black. No, I can be pro-Black and I can unite with these brothers as Christians, and we can move our people forward in power, despite them having the ideology they have and me having the ideology that I have. I didn't do it this show, but I normally start off the show by saying our different ideologies shouldn't keep us from uniting. We can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable. And I mean that from the heart. So my point being that I think it's important for us to really illustrate to our people that there are false narratives that have been pushed on us to keep us separated, to keep us believing false narratives about different spiritual traditions. And as strongly as I feel about this, I feel that strongly about African spiritual traditions that I think Christians gonna have a problem with, because I feel like it's a false narrative towards African spiritual traditions, like the Yoruba tradition, obviously the Kemetic tradition, Vodun, and others, because I feel like they've been pushed as evil and vile and etc. Not because they are, but because that's the Western vision of them. And so
I agree with you too.
and so
Me
I
too.
think that we have to start looking at it from that perspective and why this narrative has been pushed on us. And I'm gonna share my screen for a little bit just to give y'all a preview of what me and my brother Trust working on and what I came up with so far, and then I'm gonna move on. Just to let everybody know that I'm genuine when I say I'm really trying to do this from a unified standpoint. Can y'all see my screen?
Yeah.
And so you see Christianity and its contribution to Africa, a response to "Is this your king?" Now I made "Is this your king?" So I'm responding to myself. So because when I say I believe in my eye, I believe in my eye. I believe in keeping it balanced, period. Not just being biased on one end, but I believe in exploring it from every end. And so Christianity first arrived in North America in the first or early second century AD. The Christian communities in North Africa were among the earliest in the world. Legend has it that Christianity was brought from Jerusalem to Alexandria on the Egyptian coast by Mark, one of the four evangelists in 60 AD. This was before Christianity spread to North Europe. So it was there before it ever, before a European ever saw it, it came to the continent. And I'm not going to read all of this, but you see the Coptic Church of Egypt. I get into that. And then I just
Brother,
fast forward
Brother
to
P, I want to add something.
to each church father. He mentioned Tertullian, Origen, Athanasius. And so I just want everybody to understand that when we say we coming from a firm, balanced place with showing our people that this wasn't something that was forced on everybody, that some of us chose this willingly, that Africa has a real carbon footprint in this belief and in the spreading of this belief, in the organization of this belief. This is a fact that we can't deny. This is not a white man's religion. This is not something that he created and forced on us. This is something he co-opted and misused against us, and we have to get that straight. And that's really what I wanted to illustrate on that point.
Hey, Brother Piankhi. Brother Piankhi?
Yes,
Did I
sir.
say it right? Did I say it right? I just wanted to add to you, man. I appreciate that. What you just stated. Also, and this is something because I posed this to a group of people a while ago. So I was speaking to a bunch of white people, and I said, "What if I told you that the basis of how you view the Western Christianity was on the shoulders of a black man from North Africa?" And now looked at me crazy. And anybody who knows studies academia and philosophy and Western Christianity know that basically you stand on the shoulders of Saint Augustine. Saint Augustine is considered the father of the Western philosophy and Western theology. Well, most of the times, what Saint Augustine is painted as some white dude. But you actually look at his genetic narrative and who actually his daddy was a Roman, but his mama was an African Berber. His mama is the reason why he was a Christian anyway. And so he actually identified with the Berber class. And it's interesting because I would love to see a lot of white racist evangelicals to talk to them and say, "Hey, have you thanked the black man lately?" Just one of the things, and they look at you crazy, like, "What you talking about?" I'm like, "Well, if it wasn't for Augustine, you probably wouldn't have your theology as a Christian in the first place." And so my mission, and I appreciate what you're doing, is I'm personally on a mission two things: to uniting the black church traditions in the West back to their African heritage. So not necessarily having to rely on people like Martin Luther and John Calvin and all these other people would bring it back home. It literally bring that theology back home. And then also, because we hear this a lot, people say, oh, I got a problem with Western Christianity. And I always tell people, qualify that and say Western European Christianity. Because Western Christianity still stands on the shoulders of African thought and African groundings. And what you said brings it home, because when you research those church fathers, a lot of them came from pre-Christian traditions. But what they did, they took African spirituality, because Africans have an understanding of spirit and natural relationships. Probably no Africans, I would say Asians and Native Americans probably do it better than anybody else, but understand that nature, spiritual, supernatural relationship. And they took that understanding, and then that's how you get, Tertullian coming up with stuff like the Trinity, because that wouldn't exist. But guess who already had an understanding of the Trinity? The Egyptians. They already had a basic understanding what the Trinity is. And guess who else still currently does? The Yoruba people still has a basic understanding of that. And so, man, I just want to appreciate that. I'm about to head out, but brother, when you post that or you finish that slide, man, I love to watch it and engage with you on that, man. I appreciate that. Again, and this is just us dialogue. I'm a Christian, you're not a Christian, but it's just us talking about truth. So I appreciate that.
Well, definitely keep you posted, bro.
I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. If I can add to what Brother Piankhi and Brother Byron were saying, is that not only were our people Christians on the continent, but they retained their culture, right? So they didn't become Christians and what I'm saying, everything changed. No, they kept their culture, they kept their customs, they kept everything, but they basically intertwined Christianity and made that part of their culture as well. We don't see mission. We don't see people changing their culture until mostly until Western missionaries from here go over to countries, and then they basically demand that if you're not like us in all ways, then you're not Christian, right? So that's just a little tidbit that I thought I'd add to that conversation that y'all were having. So you can be a Christian and you can still be as black as you want to be. You can become a Christian and be as African as you want to be. But all Christianity requires you to do is accept the gospel. And again, you know what I'm saying, you can retain your cultural identity.
Right. Now, I love what Brother Thomas was saying, because on this channel, Paradigm Shift 314, I think that I've made it clear that when it comes to the Bible is not against anybody's culture. But if there are things in your culture that goes against the word of God, then we should stop doing those things. Because I've been presented with people who have said that, oh, the Bible is anti-African because it speaks against A, B, and C. Well, if this practice is practiced in Africa, India, Europe, Russia, or anywhere else, it's wrong. So the Bible is not anti-African, anti-Russia. Overall, it's not anti-cultural. The Bible is not anti-cultural. If there are things in our culture that goes against what the word of God speaks of, as in pertaining to us seeking after righteousness, then those things are wrong, period, point blank. And I know Brother Thomas just got through going. I know Brother Brian just came back. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think I've heard Brother Marlon in a minute. So Brother Marlon, if you can address what Brother Thomas has spoke on, or anything else you want to address, go ahead, bro. You have to unmute yourself, bro. Okay, there you go.
I got it. All right. Well, like I said, I was raised a Christian, you know. I believe the reason that I switched, I mean, really and truly, I still read the Bible. I mean, I'm pretty much proving that to you guys. I still read the Bible. It's the basic instructions. So I mean, I guess the reason why I did, you know, choose to go off my own basically, and look for the
Marlon,
knowledge.
if I can step in for a second, I don't mean to cut you off. If I can step in for a second, since you said that the Bible is, be the Bible, basic instructions before leaving the earth. If you claim that you still read the Bible and you have acknowledged that the Bible is the basic instructions before leaving the earth, then why would you sway into any other practices or belief systems, knowing that the word of God is the overall truth as in basic instructions before leaving the earth?
Well, I mean, as a 5%er, we study from the Bible. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. Being a 5%er doesn't cut me off from God or his word. It cuts me off from the Christianity, because why would I put a name on, why would I put a name on it? And I mean, I understand that, Christ is the basic leader of Christianity, and that's why, it's really called Christianity. But at the same time, God gave you a brain, you know what I'm saying, in order
bro, this is what I'm asking you, bro. This is what I'm asking you. The Bible doesn't say there's anything wrong with seeking knowledge or information. The Bible does not teach against that at all.
Right.
But as you just said, you agree that that the Bible is the basic. Basic means like bottom line, like the end of the bottom. So if this is the basic, before we get into the complicated stuff about the Bible, if the Bible is the basic instructions before leaving the earth, why would you, as a 5%er, even seeking knowledge, why would you tie into any other knowledge that's opposed to what the Bible teaches, seeing that you agree that the Bible is the basic knowledge?
All right, well, let me say this. I'm not opposed to the Bible, okay? I would say, being that I've been in many churches here in America, I would say that America, okay, this country, and the way things are done here, being that we've been given the same free will that God gave us in the first place, the free will over here to be what you want to be, study what you want to study, and pretty much become your own person in the way that you think and move. I believe that right there is the trip up in the whole situation. Because like other countries, you're either going to be what they are or you're not going to be there. You're either going to be a Buddhist or you're not going to be in India or wherever you are. If you're not an Arab, you're not going to be in the Middle East. I believe that this country we should have freedom, but there is a limit to your freedom, because the Bible gives you a limit to your freedom. If you from studying that, it gives you a limit to the things you're allowed to do. I mean, you could do them. Nobody's going to stop you, but it's going to have consequences, and that's why I follow most of the things in the Bible. I study the Bible because it gives you a balance, okay, of knowledge. You can get knowledge from all kinds of places and all kinds of people, and you have to determine what's good about it and what's not good about it. You keep the good, and like you said, you keep the meat and you throw the bones away. And that's what I use the Bible for. If I use it, that's what I use it for. I'm just a knowledge seeker, Christianity, like I said, the stigma that's been put on it here in America would pretty much turn anybody that has a whiff of consciousness. And not saying that I'm a conscious group person. Consciousness to me is an eye opening, a person whose eyes is open. Your eyes become open to certain truths, and you grab hold of those and you hold to them and you build from there.
Okay, since I was trying to play off of what Brother Thomas was saying, based off of what you were saying, before I let Brother Byron go and Piankhi go after him, Brother Thomas, do you want to address anything that he said?
So I guess when it just comes to studying everything, right? Like how do you then decipher what you should then follow, right? So to give you an example, do you study in any Norse religions?
Oh,
No, you ain't?
be honest with you, if it, no, I haven't, but
Yeah,
if it ever comes across my face or ears and I see or hear it, I'm gonna get into it because you never know where, you know what I'm saying, where the real truth lies in anything. You have to use your common sense, or you only have common sense. That's what God gave you,
yeah,
and you have to use that to the best of your ability, and try to put it in your pot and see if it mixes in with the mojo. And if it doesn't mix in the right way, then